Thank you, everybody. Let's get set up here and plug in the HDMI cable. I'm not from the Netherlands, by the way. That's a good way to insult me. I'm from Belgium. Our soccer team was third in the World Cup. Huh? Yeah. But today we're not going to talk about soccer. We're going to talk about handling media in a Laravel application. Yeah, so I'm Freek van der Herte. I work for a company called Spatie, and like Justin already said, we do a lot of open source. Now in this talk, we're going to address the problem of media, and it's around user-uploaded content. Now, who here has ever had to handle things like uploads and cropping images like that in your applications? Yeah, a lot of people. The problem is, where to store all these images and files. How are we going to retrieve it? How are we going to optimize those images? And those problems are not that hard, but they're like a little bit boring to solve. And if you had to do that in every project separately, it would become tedious quite fast. Now, all of these problems are handled by a package that we created called the Media Library. What can this package do? In a nutshell, it can associate eloquent models. It can associate files with eloquent models. So you can, for instance, have like a blog post model, and you can attach files to it. You can also group media into collections. So you can say for a given blog post, hey, give me all the images for this blog post, or give me all the downloads for this blog post. It can also convert images. So if you have like a list of blog posts, you can display a little thumbnail version of it instead of using the original one. And it can also use multiple file systems. So if you have a lot of images, you can use something like S3 to store all those files. It can do a whole lot more. It can also optimize converted images. So whenever you add something to the media library, we will take out the metadata and apply just a little bit of compression to it, just to make the files as small as they can be. And whenever we make a derived version of it, we do the same. We apply just a little bit of compression on it. By default, the media library can generate derived images from JPEGs and from PNGs and from PDF files. If you have, for instance, another sort of file, for instance, a PowerPoint presentation, the media library natively doesn't know how to create a thumbnail for that. But there's a concept in Media Library called an image generator, and it's just a simple class that you can write yourself and hook up into the Media Library, and that class can determine how a thumbnail should be made out of a given file. You can also customize the directory structure. So by default, the media library will just use IDs 1, 2, 3. But if you want to hide how many images that you have, you can use a custom directory structure and use, like for instance, a hashed version of the ID, so nobody can guess what the URLs to your images are. And it can also store any kind of attribute that you want to attach to media. So for a photo, you can, for example, add the name of the photographer to that media item. This is how it works in a nutshell. When you add a file, we will create a new media instance and couple that to an existing model. And we will generate derived formats, and all of these files will be put on a local disk or on remote disks. We use Laravel's native file system abstraction for that. There's also a lot of documentation written for this package. So everything that you're going to hear during this talk is documented as well, so you can easily look it up later. The package is becoming more and more popular. We have nearly 600,000 downloads right now, and usage is still growing. Now, I can talk a lot about this, but I think it's more fun if you just see it and feel what this package can do for you. So let's do that now. Now, who here is already using the media library? Hey, a couple of hands. You're awesome. Okay, let's go to the demo. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. I need to do a little bit of housekeeping here. Let's have Moom. Let's make it bigger. Enter presentation mode. Is this big enough for you? Yeah? Okay, cool. So, like another developer, I've created a demo that just runs entirely in a routes file. So, let's do the 101 here, and add something to the media library. So, this is a Laravel project that I've already prepared a little bit. We have an article model where we are going to work with, and let's take a look at that article model. It just implements an interface given by the package and a trait from the package, and that's the only thing you need to do to prepare your model. Now, I also added this little helper function here called last. I just use that to easily demo some stuff. You'll see that later on. Okay, let's go to the routes file. And I have an artisan commando here. And I have a shortcut for running artisan. It's just A, because I use that the whole day. Let's demo it. And which route are we going to visit? Add media to library. And so we are going to create a new article. We are going to add some media. I have here a file in the storage path in demo museum.jpg, and I'm going to add that to the media library. Okay, let's do that, and it's added. If I go to the database, I don't know how to make this bigger, but if I refresh here, you can see that a row has been created in the media table. It's coupled to a model type of article, and the model ID is 1. Okay, how do you retrieve a URL or a path to that given image? Let's see that now. Let's fire up a Tinker session and get the last article. So that's the last one. And how do you get to the media? It's very simple. You just go get media, and then you get a collection back with one media model in it. Now, because it's so common to work with the first media, there's also a method called getFirstMedia, which directly gives you a media item. Now, on such a media item, you can just get the URL for it, which you can use in your views. Should you ever need the full path to it, you can do get path, and then you get the full path to the file that was stored. Let's take a look here in the file system. So in public directory, we have now a media directory and one, and here is that museum JPEG, and this is the building we're sitting in. Cool. So that's really the simplest thing you can do. Let's move on. Here I've used the add media function, so you can add a file on your file system to the media collection. But what you probably are going to do most is use this function, add media from request. And here you can, if there's a form request coming in, you can just add the name of the file field here, and it will just use the data that's transmitted during the request and add that to the media library. Now, I've said that the media library has support for collections. And here we are going to show that. We are going to create another article. We are going to add some media to it, the museum pictures. And we are also going to add another file to it. And we are going to add that in the media collection here. So if I were to visit that route, so using collections, internal file error. Let me fix that real quick. So this is another file, I think. Storage, demo. Aha, we have the Nova Talk notes. So we are going to use that. So Nova Talk notes.pdf. Let's try that one more time. Not showing, it's using collections, and now it worked. So, in our file system, we have now the Nova Talk notes here and the museum picture there. So, if I go to my Tinker session here and retrieve the last article and get all the media from that, we have nothing. Now, how come that we have nothing? It's because if you just call media, it will use the default media collection. But all the files are in other collections. It's in images and in downloads. So if I get the media of images, I get the media for the museum. And if I go to downloads here, downloads, then you can see we have that Nova Talk notes thing here. And again, if we were to use get first media and do get URL, we have a URL to that to the Talk notes. So that's how that works. That's how you can use collections. Of course, when you delete an article, then we will also delete the associated media, so you don't need to take care of that yourself. So here we are going to get all articles, and for each one we're going to call delete on it. So let's do that route now. So delete models, so they're gone. You see media is gone as well, simple. Using media conversions, here it gets a little bit more interesting. So inside the article model, you can actually register your conversions. Let's do that together now. So here I can do a public function register media conversions, register media conversions, yes, it's this one. And here I can add a media conversion, and I can give it a name, for example, a thumb. And here you can say what should be done with that file. So I want to have it with a width of 300, and the height should also be 300. Now there are a lot of operations you can do here. You can pixelate it, you can grayscale it, you can blur it a little bit, you can do a border, brightness correction. You can even add a watermark here. So there are a lot of things that you can do here. If you need multiple conversions for a given model, you can just make another conversion and give it a name, pixelate it, and do it, call pixelate here with how much you should pixelate it. And then whenever something gets added to the media library, these conversions will be performed. So I'm just going to do it for thumb. So I'm going to leave that there and visit that route. So using media conversions. And it takes a little bit longer because the thumbnail is being generated. And now you can see in the file system, we have the original file here, which is this size. And if I go to the conversions, you can see that we have a much smaller version here. So How do you get a URL to a thumbnail? Let's go back to the web directory here. Let's get the first media from the images collection and the URL to that. And we have the museum here. And if I want to have the thumbnail version, you just pass the name of the conversion to the get URL function. No conversion name thumb. Did I? Thumb. Ah, yeah, I should reload my Tinker session and try it again. Yeah, now you have the full URL to the thumb. So that's how that works. Let's go to the next demo. So by default, all these conversions will happen in a queue. So if you have a queue configured, we will not make your request longer, because we will do all the work of the conversion in the queue. Now, if you don't want to use the queue for some reason, if you are making a thumbnail that you need to use immediately, for instance in an admin section, then you can say, hey, do this non-queued, and then we will do it in the same request as the file is added to the media library. Let's see. I've said that the media library also optimizes your images by just stripping out the metadata and applying a little bit of compression. Now it does that by default. If you don't want that, then you can add that here too, and then you add here non-optimized. Why would you ever want to use this? For instance, if you have a project where you process artwork, where you want to have the absolute best quality images, then you can say no, no compression here, no optimization for you. Let's visit that route, optimized images, to see what the difference is. So here we do optimized images, and it will create one. So this last one is the non-optimized version. So it's 19.27, and the optimized version, you can see it's a little bit smaller. Cool. Let's go further. I've said that the media library can handle PDFs as well and create thumbnails for that. So let's prove that I'm not lying. So let's visit the PDF conversions part. Takes a while. And now you can see here we have the Nova Talk Notes. Let's open it. Let's see what's inside here. Yeah, I can't go further than that. It's 17 pages long, that's all we know. And if I go to the conversion here, you can see here that we have a little thumbnail of that PDF. So, very easy. I've said that we can also customize the path a little bit. So you've noticed that all the paths here, they have like the ID of the media here. Let's see how we can avoid that. We can avoid that by using a custom generator, a custom path generator, and it's just a class. Let me show it to you. Which implements an interface that is given by the package, and you just have to implement get path for conversions, get path for responsive images, and yeah, we give you the media, and you should give us the path back. So it's as easy as that. So you can specify that class in the config file of the package. So here we have that path generator, and if I just use it here, it's this one. Yeah. It isn't that one. This class like this. No, it's services. No, wait, I've made a mistake. Path generator, and it's this one, yeah, class. And let's use it. Let's go back to our web here, customizing the path. Let's reboot the demo and visit that route, customizing the path. And with a little bit of luck, you can see here that we have now a path that you can't guess anymore. And if we were to get the URL to that one, so I'm going to get the original here, and we've used the default collection. Let's try that again. First media, get URL. Yeah, now it's the right one. Because I made a code change, I should restart my Tinker session. So now you can see that it uses an URL that you can't guess. Okay, let's go on. I've said that you can use multiple file systems, and how you can specify which disk you should use is very easy. You just tag on the configured Laravel disk as a second parameter to the to-media collection function. Now, you've probably seen that the Wi-Fi connection is pretty crappy here. So while you were enjoying Adam's talk, I stressed a little bit out and tried to make the Wi-Fi work. But I wasn't successful in that. So instead of using the normal S3 driver, I've just faked it a little bit and used the local driver here. But know that all the code that you see in the web demo works if I were to use the S3 driver. Okay, so we are going to use another disk named S3 here. Let's visit that route using S3. And if I get the path to the last media from images here, then you can see that it's coming from the S3 directory here and not from the normal media, the normal URL anymore. Now, if I were to use the real S3 driver, this link would contain the full URL, so HTTPS and with the full S3 domain there. That's how that works. Defining media collections. Let's do that. Article. Let's see a little bit of the code here. So, what's a media collection? Up until now, we've seen that a media collection is just a name here. For a certain collection, but you can also add a little bit of behavior to that. You can say, for instance, that whenever I use the media collection big files, you should use the S3 disk and not the normal disk, so you can leave off S3 here. How can you handle that? So here you can say public function register media register media collections. Yeah. Here you can add a media collection called big files. And here you can see what you should do whenever something is added to that collection. So here you can say whenever you use big files, you must put the file on S3. Now there are a few other interesting things that you can do with a media collection here. You can also say that it's a single file collection. So if you add single file here, whenever you have a collection with a file in it and you put another file in that collection, it will just delete the other one that is there. So that's a collection where only one file can exist in. For what is this useful? For like, for instance, an avatar of a user. Probably users have only one avatar, and when they upload a new one, you don't need the old one anymore. And by using a single file collection, you shouldn't write any code for that. The media library will take care of that. Another thing that you can do by defining a media collection is defining which sorts of files that it should accept. So this function accepts a closure, and it accepts a file here. And here you can say return, here you must return a Boolean. And here you can say, yeah, the size should be smaller than this amount of bytes. So only small files will get into this media collection. And whenever you upload a bigger file here, this function will fail, and we will throw an exception here. There's also other things you can check here. You can check the MIME type and the name of the file when adding something to there. So that's how you register media collections. Let's go further. Downloading a file. So downloading an uploaded file is really easy. So in this demo, we are going to create another article. We are going to add some media to it. We're going to put it in the media library. And by default, this function just returns the created media. And how can you let your user download a file? It's very simple. You just return a media object as a response, and you will download it. Let's try that now. So we are going to visit that route, downloading a file. And here you can see my browser fires up. And you can see here that we downloaded the Nova Talk nodes. So it's as easy as that. You can also download a file from another file system here. In this case, the fake S3, but I guarantee that this works with a real S3 as well. So if I loading a file from S3, we get the same behavior. It downloads the Nova Talk nodes again. Cool. Here it gets a little bit more interesting. If you want to have your user download multiple files in a project without the media library, what you probably will do is copy all those files locally and zip them and just transfer the zip as a download. But the media library can handle this and handle that a little bit better. So what are we going to do here? We are going to create some articles. We are going to store some files to it. And here we are going to create a media stream. We are going to give it a name, yourfiles.zip, and we're going to add media to it. And we're going to add all the created media to it. And you should notice that this file is stored locally. This file is on S3. And what will happen behind the scenes is we won't create a zip file on the server where your application is running. No, we will stream both files in a way that the zip is created on the machine of the user that is requesting the download. So there is no disk space needed on your server. Let's try that now. So if I hit the route downloading multiple files here, you can see that it takes a little while, and we have here a zip. And if I open up that zip here, it's a little bit small, but we have the picture of the museum here, and we have the PDF here. So this makes it crazy easy to download multiple files. Okay, thank you. Let's do one more cool thing, and that is responsive images, which is a major new feature that is added in the latest version of the package. So, if you want to use an image on a site, that's probably fine. But there are users that are using like a big monitor. There are users that use a phone with a tiny screen, and if you the easiest way is just to use the same image for both those devices. But wouldn't it be cool if the phone would have use a smaller version of an image and the desktop version is like a larger version of the image? Well, that is what responsive images is trying to solve. And there are a few steps involved into explaining this all. And the first thing that we are going to do is generating all those versions of the images. So we are going to create another article. We are going to add some media to it. And here we are going to say, hey, we want to use responsive images here. You should generate them all. So let's do that now. I'm going to reset the demo, so we don't have that thumbnail anymore. Here we're going to restart the demo, and we are going to call that route generating responsive images. So it takes a while, because a lot of images get generated. Responsive images, you can see them. There are 2 generated here, but I think if I reveal it in the Finder, yeah, you see that they are being created here. Okay. So there are a lot of them there. And you can see their dimensions in the file name. Now we use an algorithm here, which you can easily customize, it's documented, of which we predict that each variation will be 70% of the file size of the previous generation. And we stop when I think a file gets to 20 KB or something. So for a small file, there will be less responsive image versions than for a large file. Now that picture of the museum is a quite large image, so you can see there are a lot of images here. So you can see here, this one is 930 KBs, this is a little bit less, this is still less, and so on. Okay, so we've generated those responsive images. Let's go back to the web file and do the second part here. Let's go into the browser and show off that media that we just created. So we are going to visit that route showing responsive images. And here you can see we have that picture of the museum here. And I don't know if you noticed it, it was really fast, but there was like a blurred version first. Let's pretend that we're on fast 3G here. So the request goes a little bit slower. And if I refresh here you can see that blurred version, right? So how does that happen? So let's inspect this. Or maybe, can I make this bigger? Yeah. So this is what's being generated. And I'm going to talk about source set a little bit later. I want you to focus on this part here. This is an SVG here that's being inlined, and it's actually that blurred version of the image. And because it's inlined, we can display that immediately, so we don't have to wait for another request. It's just inlined in the HTML, so it's displayed immediately. So that SVG, that's of course also generated by the media library itself. Now, if I take another look here, you can see here that we use a source attribute. Now some of you might think, hey, well, what is this thing? This is something really strange. But actually it is not. It has been it is a standardized attribute for quite some time now. And it works a little bit like the normal source attribute that everybody knows. In the source attribute you can only set one file, but in the source set attribute you can say multiple files. So here you can say, here you can see that we have our largest file here, the path, and here we say this is not part of the file name itself. This is really another statement. Here we say to the browser, hey, if your window is this wide or higher, use this file. If your window is this wide, then use this file. So let's take a look at the file itself here. It's really small, and I don't know how to make this bigger. But here you can see that we use a certain file size. I think it's 10,000 x. It's even small for me, 666. And if I go make it a little bit smaller, yeah, inspect is already here. Here you can see that it uses the smaller version. So here it's like, it starts with 384 pixels wide. Now, if I were to, I don't know if I can show that easily. If I were to make my window a little bit bigger, then there should be network requests to fetch the larger image, because our window is now a little bit larger. And even if I make it a little bit fast, you'll see that the browser is actually, if it needs another big version, it will cancel all the image downloads that it doesn't need anymore. So let's see if I'm lying or not. And it only downloaded, yeah, this one, because I dragged too slow, and the larger ones. And I don't know if we can see it. If I do it really quickly, then you should see some more detail in the museum picture when it has downloaded. I don't know if you see it, but it has gotten a little bit more clear. So that's how that works. Okay. Let's go back to the project here. Let's take a look in that showing responsive images view to see what's going on. What do you need to make all of this work? So we are going to the resources folder. We are going to this view. And actually, this is all you need to do. Thank you. So it's really simple. We render this to the actual HTML that you just saw. So think about it. The only thing you as a user need to do is just add with responsive images to this. Now I've only made responsive images for the original file, but you can also do it for like a thumbnail or another derived version. You can say, hey, I want to have responsive images for that as well. And we use a little bit of magic if you want to have the responsive images of a derived version. You can invoke this object, which is kind of cool that you can do it. This will work if you would need that. So that's how that works. Cool. So that is everything in code that I wanted to show you. So let's wrap everything a little bit up. So the demo that you just saw, I'm going to put it in a public repository so you can play with it a little bit yourself. I'll also tweet out the URL to the slides so you can see all those URLs. Like I said, I've written extensive documentation for this package. That's the second link. I've also created a little video that is a basic introduction to the media library. You can view that as well. And if you want to see the secret sauce behind the package, go to the repository on GitHub. The media library is a package that we constantly work on. We're already on V7. I think we do like 2 major releases a year. And we want to add some cool, interesting stuff to version 8. We want to add some view components. So you can easily upload some files to the media library. And we want to add some view components so you can easily make an interface to administer everything that is in a certain media collection. Now those view components, we're still working on that. They're coming later this year. I've been babbling the whole time here about this package, so you might think, hey, this Frey guy, yeah, he really is a code wizard. He did that alone, but that's not true. This was really teamwork, and Sebastian, Willem, Alex, and Brent really helped make this package what it is. So this was everything I want to say. I'm Freek van der Herten. Thank you.